Finally, we're here. Welcome to High Off El Food. I am your host. My name is Danny, also known as Wanny, and welcome to a podcast that is strictly about the hottest and most controversial takes of the beautiful game of football. I'm excited for this venture, and I hope everybody can join along. A lot of you may wonder, High Off El Food, what is it? High Off El Food is the name of my podcast, obviously, but more so, a lot of our fans, a lot of football fans craze over the sport to the point where it's sort of a drug, and it gives us a high, it gives us a rush, watching it, playing
To
it.
Wembley, and it's the end for Watford. Knockout takes, Almunia saves, knockout follows in, Almunia saves again! Absolutely astonishing. Now here come Watford. Forestieri. Here's Hogg! Deeney! Do not scratch your eyes. You are really seeing the most extraordinary finish here.
It becomes a drug that you can't get enough of. Your team keeps winning, your team might keep losing, it gets you mad. But guess what? You tune in and you keep up with that club and you keep up with all the news that soccer brings to you. So that's why I decided to name it High Off El Food. Now, a little bit more background information about myself. I've been playing and watching the sport ever since the age of 5 or 6. Growing up, I've always played as a defender, a center back, or a right back. Once I stopped playing a little bit of soccer, I stopped maybe around high school. I stopped playing actively, but, I touch the ball every now and then. And I've always kept up with the news and watched it. Is a sport that I'm super passionate about. As you can tell, I'm a Manchester United supporter, and I've been with them through thick and thin, through our hard times, through our Champions League victory. As you can tell right here, CR7's UEFA Champions League final jersey from 2008 when we beat Chelsea. On top of that, as you can tell, the Mexican flag is right there. I am an active supporter of the Mexican national team. I've always loved watching them play growing up. My family is Mexican, so I take pride in that. I've gone to Mexico to see a lot of games, to watch a lot of games, been to 3 different stadiums in Mexico, and I've watched them here in the US, but that's a lot to dive into, and we'll have a whole different episode for those type of stories. Right here we have the Pumas jersey. That's my favorite club from the Mexican League. So if anybody wants to talk about Liga MX, I'm also open to that. But, I'm very passionate about this club simply because of the fact that my godmother is an active supporter of this club. They actually represent UNAM, which is La Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México. So there's a team that I hold really close to my heart. And, those are the teams that I support. We beat Atlanta in a crazy, insane game. We were down 2-0 in the first half, and we came back and won 3-2. And guess who scored the winning goal? None other than Cristiano Ronaldo. Well, I can say that I'm ecstatic about the victory. I'm super excited. I was super excited when we scored that winning goal. It felt amazing. Old Trafford looked like it was jumping. Old Trafford looked insane, actually. I can't imagine being there. That's one of my dreams, to actually go visit Old Trafford and to see the reaction and the whole crowd just smiling and being happy together, getting this crazy result and achieving this crazy comeback. It must feel insane. It must feel like it's unbelievable, I bet. And I can't wait till I'm able to achieve that dream. But for sure, well, although I'm excited, I don't really... To think that I was going to start this podcast on a positive note. But I decided to give myself some more time to edit the video and to make sure that the first podcast was quality. And decided to watch the Manchester United and Liverpool game in order to have a little bit more content for y'all. But the result was ultimately absolutely embarrassing. And I hope that those 5 goals are 5 more reasons as to why Ole should be sacked. It's embarrassing that he hasn't left the position on his own. A club like Manchester United, with that much talent on the team, should not be playing this way. And I'm not just talking about the game against Liverpool. It's evident that this is a problem that has been going on for seasons. Now, when we faced Atalanta, we went 2-0 down. And he decides to play that same lineup against a team like Liverpool. Liverpool is a proper team. They're not Atalanta. They're not Villarreal, these teams that you can sort of achieve a comeback on. They're a team that have no mercy, that will not forgive in front of goal, and they'll score as many goals as they can. And I'm glad they did, because now action will speak louder than words. We need to get rid of Ole right now. Yes, he was a great player. He has a lot of love and passion for the club. And it's a two-way street. The fans love him. The club loves him. But it's time for change. We cannot be getting these types of results. I get it. There might be games that you might lose by a lot of goals. But it's not the first time we see Manchester United play poorly. Too many defensive issues. Maguire is a tree trunk. We really need change, and we need someone new who can hold the players accountable and who could create more tactics. Ole was not ready for a position like this one. He did have a little bit of success with, sort of bringing Manchester United back, but we're not completely back. And, he hasn't brought us any type of silverware, and it's been a long time since we had something to brag about. And that's really sad. And another sad moment was seeing Sir Alex Ferguson in the stands, and he just looked surprised and distraught. Now, there's too many reasons why Ole has to go, but these are my top 3. As a manager, he isn't cutting it. So the first reason would be that he lacks emotion and he lacks some passion as a manager. The second one is that he doesn't bring many tactics to the table and sometimes isn't sure about what he should do in order to improve Manchester United's play during a game. And the third one is simply the amount of time that he has been at the club. He's been here for 3 years and hasn't lived up to the club hasn't lived up to its full potential. Now, I'm going to dive in to these reasons a little bit deeper. So, I feel like a manager should possess certain qualities in order to be a little bit more effective. Certain personality traits can help a team out. Ole seems to be very reserved and laid back when the team is playing. He's usually sitting in the stands, or he's usually just talking, but you never really see that passion in him. You never see him get emotional. And one thing is not being emotional to remain cool and calm, but showing emotion to your players could show them that you're trying to hold them accountable. They need a certain mentality to go out there and play and get a result. There's coaches like Simeone, who you can tell right off the bat he is super passionate about winning. He's yelling at his players, constantly verbally talking to them, constantly shouting from the sidelines, getting fired up with the refs. That's the type of coach you want to see. That pushes your players to give it their all. Coaches like Klopp, who will back his players up, who will bicker, it shows that your coach has your back. And Ole, he doesn't show this. He's always just laid back and quiet, and he never seems to really get angry. Not angry, but he never really seems to be, in a sense, aggressive with his players. He needs to hold them accountable, and he needs to, show that he has a fire in him. And soon that passion that the manager has will be contagious, and it'll rub off onto the players. And Ole doesn't do that, and I feel like if he did, the squad's morale will boost, and ultimately resulting them in playing better. So I feel like if he would have those traits, he would be a little bit better. But there's other coaches who possess those and have more qualities than him as far as those traits. So, why wait for Ole to become that type of coach when there's already coaches that have that type of personality? Now, the second reason, his tactics. Oh, no, his tactics are extremely sus. They don't make sense at times. Like I mentioned earlier, he had the same lineup from the Atalanta game for the Liverpool game, and that doesn't make sense because we started off so poorly in the Atalanta game, and wouldn't that make you think that you need to change the lineup or something? But to keep that same lineup, meant that Liverpool would easily expose us. And a lot of times he doesn't make the substitutions at the right time. He lets Maguire wear the captain armband when Maguire is one of the main reasons why the defensive line is always making mistakes. He had that pair of Fred and McTominay against Atalanta and expected them to hold up against Liverpool's midfield. There's no way that Maguire was going to defend against Salah or against Jota, two players that are, extremely pacey. And the fact that Ole continues to play certain players or certain lineups doesn't make sense to me. He doesn't seem to have a system of playing for Manchester United. You know, every time I see Manchester United play, it seems like we're waiting for one player to shine. We're waiting for an individual moment or individual like talent to get us results or to create more goal opportunities for us. It doesn't seem like we have some sort of system that these other teams have. For instance, Barcelona, you know, back in their glory days with Xavi and Iniesta, it was obvious that, you know, their system of playing was possession. Like Manchester City now with Pep Guardiola, they also play a lot of possession. And, you know, that type of play is a little bit slower, but it does get you results. You have Liverpool with Klopp, who they excel at counterattacking, you know, fast build-up, making sure that Alexander-Arnold and Robertson exploit those wings and sending crosses and passes into their faster players. You know, these are the types of systems that teams should have. You also have Atletico with Simeone, who will run to the last minute, apply pressure, and fight for every ball. You know, these are systems that these teams have, and you know, the systems that these teams need to have in order to win and get results. I don't see a system for Manchester United. I don't see one right now. I wouldn't know how to describe the way that we play besides just waiting for someone to have a moment of magic, you know? And for the amount of talent that we have on this team, we should have a system of playing. It would be way more effective and we would play more comfortably. Now, the third and final reason, he's been at the club for 3 years and we have yet to win a trophy. I would say that because of him, we comfortably would finish in Champions League positions in the Premier League table. But honestly, it doesn't even seem like that anymore. I don't think it's ever seemed like that. It was just our players making sure they didn't let Manchester United lose. But, you know, I feel like with certain changes in management and the lineup and some defensive improvement, we could get to that comfortability of finishing Champions League positions every year. But I mean, with the talent that we have, we should be competing for that anyways. Yeah, but it's been way too long since our last trophy. You know, 3 years and he hasn't done much, you know. He did get us some big wins or some good matches with rivals, but ultimately that didn't end up in us getting a trophy, so it doesn't really matter. But Ole, it's time to go, and I think the fans are ready for you to be sacked. We're ready for him to be. We're all ready for him to be sacked, especially after this last result. I don't think anybody is willing to continue having a manager like that. But another thing about Ole is like he had mentioned earlier before the season that in order to contend for the Premier League title, you have to have a strong start to the season. And it sucks to hear him say something like that because the start of our season hasn't been the strongest. So does that mean that we're no longer able to contend for the title? Because the point of this transfer market was in order to make us a top contender for the Premier League title. And that's not happening. and I don't see his mentality anymore. I don't see that mentality that he had when he said that, and it sucks that it's taken him so long to actually try to keep his word. But it's time for him to go out, to just leave or to be sacked for the sake of the club. This is a club that has a lot of history, triumphant history, and we deserve a lot better because we have the players, we have the attackers to play well, and the fact that we don't play well really sucks, and the fans deserve more. Now, there are a few options that we can take into consideration. I'm saying we, I make the decisions, but just for the Manchester United supporters and the Manchester United community, there are some options that Manchester United should look into. I would say the top one would be Zinedine Zidane. He's a legend. He knows what it's like to win as a player and as a coach. He's won 3 Champions Leagues with Ronaldo and Varane, who are both now on Manchester United. So he already has a relationship with those 2 players. Pogba is also on the team, and he is French, like Zidane, so they could also possibly have a connection. But Zinedine Zidane, he knows how to manage a star-studded team. When he was managing Real Madrid, they had the likes of Sergio Ramos, Varane, Casemiro, Modric, Cruz, Ronaldo, Benzema, Bale, all these players that could be recognized as world class. These star players who probably have big egos, and the fact that Zidane was able to manage all these star and top-notch players is pretty impressive, because not a lot of coaches are able to handle that much talent and pride. So, Manchester United has a pretty star-studded squad. They have Ronaldo, we have Varane, who's world class, we have Pogba, we have Bruno, we have Cavani, Greenwood, Rashford, Sancho. We have so much talent on our team and so many players that are great, but we can't just rely on talent. We need to be able to the coach needs to be able to manage all of this talent, and Zidane was able to do that, and he's been successful with teams that are star-studded. So he's a pretty good option. Another second option that's been buzzing around is Conte, Antonio Conte, who is known for coaching Chelsea, Juve, and Inter. And he actually took the managerial position at Chelsea the season after they ended 10th place. And he was able to take that team and win them a Premier League. So, he knows how to take a team out of the mud. And not only that, but he's won Serie A titles with Juve and Inter. So that's also very, very impressive, and it shows that he knows how to win. But one thing that stands out a lot is his defensive mentality and his defensive strategies. So, that could help a lot for Manchester United. The fact that he's a defensive coach and he knows his defensive tactics could help Manchester United a lot, because we have suffered 11 goals in the last 3 games. against Leicester, Atalanta, and Liverpool. So, we could use that type of defensive coaching. So he makes a lot of sense. But the fact that he coached Chelsea and he's kind of temperamental, sort of bring the possibility down. But other than that, he's a great option. Then we also have a third option who I really like just because of the work he's been doing with the club that he's managing. We have Brendan Rodgers. I don't know how likely this would be because, he's just killing it at Leicester. I really love Leicester right now. Like, they're one of my favorite teams to watch. They're so entertaining. They play with their heart. They really have a great story, don't they? Coming up so many of the divisions or the flights here in England. And becoming Premier League champions and battling for Champions League positions now, season in and season out. That's really cool. And it's all thanks to Brendan Rodgers. He came in with a mentality to win and get results. And the only thing that is a downfall is the fact that he managed our arch rivals, Liverpool. He did a pretty good job there, and he almost won the Premier League title with them, but he was eventually, replaced, and he bounced back when he coached Celtic, and that's where he proved that he can get victories week in and week out. With Celtic, he won 7 out of 7 domestic trophies. 7 out of 7 domestic trophies, I'm sorry. So that shows that, he wins regularly. And that's something that we need to do because, we can't let these small games or less important games give us trouble. And we have to be able to beat big teams. And he's been able to do that with Leicester. So that gives him a lot of credibility, and it's a lot of merit to him. But I really like what he's been doing with Leicester. I don't know how probable it would for him to, coach Manchester United, but shout out to him. He's been doing a lot with Leicester. I also don't know what the chances are of getting a manager like him, but Erik ten Hag, he is a manager for Ajax. And we all know Ajax for that classic run they had in the Champions League where they beat Juventus and Real Madrid. And they got to the semifinals. And they had the likes of Frankie de Jong, Van de Beek, Tadic, Ziyech, and De Ligt. And if y'all notice, a lot of his players have moved on from Ajax and gone to perhaps bigger clubs. But, nobody has really approached the brains behind it all. Nobody has really approached to sign or give him a contract or a position. But, the fact that he was able to do what he did with Ajax is very impressive. And, they're coming off a 4-0 victory against Borussia Dortmund. And I feel like those two teams are pretty even as far as skill and their game, And for them to just dominate them and score that many goals on them is pretty insane, and that's a very good result. We have Donny van de Beek at Manchester United, and getting his former coach I feel like would be a huge morale boost. And I feel like he's an underappreciated player who deserves to be on the pitch more often. I feel like he might even deserve a starting position. He's that talented, and I feel like he fits in the lineup. He could probably create good link-up play with Pogba and Fernandez, and all our wingers like Rashford and Sancho, and um, I feel like Erik ten Hag, he could do something for Manchester United, but um, I don't know if he would break his loyalty to Ajax, but he would be an interesting option. But ultimately, I feel like if Ole does get sacked, Zidane might be the most probable option because he is a free agent, and he helps with the brand building mentality that the Premier League has been adopting slowly, and I feel like he fits in with the club, with the hype and the prestige that the club has. Zidane was a world-class player and will be remembered for, as long as soccer lives. So he definitely, uh, you know, would be a very, very exciting pick as a coach. But for now, we have to do the obvious and sack Ole from the Manchester United position. It was his last result was super embarrassing. But that's been all for the first episode of High Off with Food. I'll see you next time. Thank you.